It, Chapter 2, was directed by Andy Muschietti, same director as the first, and stars James McAvoy, Jessica Chastain, and Bill Hader. And in this film, it takes place 27 years after the Losers Club first defeated Pennywise, and they come back to finish the job. This is easily one of my most anticipated films of the year. I was so ready for this. I still love the first It movie. I think that's one of the biggest surprises in horror history. I never thought that film was going to be good. I went to see it with very low expectations and came out praising its name. But I was so excited mainly just to see how Andy Muschietti looks at the adult portion, because the adult portion is easily the weakest part of both the book and the miniseries. So I want to see if it can actually be translated well into film. And I can say that there's some things in this film that I really like, but I would say this film was a little bit disappointing. I still really like the film, but I think overall I was a little disappointed that it wasn't as strong of a follow-up as the previous one. Still, there are a lot of things to praise about this, particularly the cast. The cast is fantastic. Bill Hader, easily the best part about the film. His performance and the character Richie Trozer still is my favorite part of both the first It and the second. And they gave a level of depth to him that I didn't expect. No spoilers, and I want you guys to see this film just to see what I mean. I just want you guys to see this film in general to make up your own opinion on it. But I think Bill Hader did a great job, as well as James McAvoy and Jessica Chastain. Obviously, I was excited about those two in this film, and they were great. I was really surprised about the newcomers, or relative newcomers. And like Mike Hanlon and Ben and all the rest of the Losers Club were great. I love the rapport between Bill Hader's Richie and the person who played Eddie. I think that's great comedy. The comedy is really strong in this film. But easily the best part next to Bill Hader in this film is the other Bill. Bill Skarsgård is fantastic in this film. I just wish they utilized him in his actual form a little bit more. There are a lot of him towards the third act, like the first one. Won't get into spoilers there. But yeah, there's a lot of things that happen at the end that you kind of have to be on board with, or else you're just going to be lost. And I think that could be said the same thing about this entire film. But still, there are some things that I think the first film did a lot better, which is pacing, runtime, and overall the atmosphere and the scares. I don't think this film is that scary. I don't even think it's as scary as the first. And then I don't really think the first film is that scary anymore. I just think it's really disturbing and really cool. And I still love the film just for how it all just came together. But the second film, I think, suffers from pacing, and it's because of that runtime. You feel this runtime, you really do. At first, when you're coming to the third act, you think this is the third act. No, it's just a little bit more of the second act, and then the third act, and it kind of just bothered me a lot. And this film is very repetitive, especially in the second act. There is kind of a little bit one scene of each character that just seemed a little bit assembly line, and I was a little bit bored by some of that. There's some scares that worked for me, particularly one scare that actually got me, but I thought the rest of the scares weren't as scary or effective, mainly just because of CGI. That's probably my biggest issue with this film next to the pacing. The CGI looks really cheap in this film, more cheap than the first, and I feel like that's more not to budget, because the first film was the most successful horror film of all time. I would think they would use that on the CG, or at least more practical effects. But really, they decided to use a little bit more CGI, and it shows. Especially, not just with the monsters, but with the de-aging effect. I know you guys hear this a lot, but what they use for, like, Richie and Finn Wolfhard's character, it's really distracting. It took me out of the film a little bit. And I felt like there were some scenes that were set up and then didn't get the necessary payoff. And I think that's more or less because we're focusing on both the adults and the kids. And I guess I knew I wasn't going to like this film as much as the first one, mainly because the adult aspects I don't really believe as much as the kids. Because if you're a kid and you're seeing all this, you believe in all this. But when you're adult, you grow more fearful for reality, not just the fantastical. The reality of the situation is the scary part. And I feel like it was a little bit weird that they would still have these fears even as adults. Still, I think this is a very enjoyable film for what it was. I think it's okay. I wish it was a little better, but the cast is the reason why I say you go watch this film. Bill Skarsgård, again, was fantastic in this role that has become synonymous with him. And I feel like this film could divide many, but I feel like most people are going to have to watch it to make their own opinion. I'm going to give It Chapter 2 a B-. So if you guys seen the film, let me know what you thought about it. It is a little disappointing in the long run, but still, my thoughts on the first film is still up there. It's still intact. I still love the first film. This film didn't affect it in the slightest. So what do you guys think of the first and second in this case? But the second film in general, what do you think about it? Let me know, and I'll see you all later, recruits. Take care.